Self-control.
Self-control. Have to give me a couple of lessons in that, buddy. Not familiar with the term.
You better get
Another rabbi there.
Oh boy.
How you doing?
Trying to get this closed drive ready for next Monday.
Oh yeah.
Trying to get my birthday party ready for next Saturday.
Oh yeah. I can't wait for the birthday party.
This closed drive is going to be my nemesis. So much stuff to do, finish.
Hey, how's it going?
We got to figure out.
Hey, I'm just hoping I don't really.
Year to get a year. Gotta work on the transition. 25 years to go for a reason.
Thank you for your comments about the camera. Thank you. Somebody that's helping us out. I really appreciate it, okay? Bring your kid back again.
I'll try.
I got a brother-in-law to help us.
Yeah, you do. So you gotta really make sure you understand these dynamics. So that's all. There's no post-show. This is a private industry. Been long gone. Came for private industry. So that's all.
Gotcha. I'm with it.
Okay, we can start this joint Finance Public Works Committee meeting. I'm Councilor Rudd, the Finance Chair. Councilor Green is the Chair for Public Works. Councilor Allen. Hogan, the new guy. Councilor Driscoll and President Hudson. So there's kind of two goals in this. We have the need that you're asking for now, and we just understand that need, and so it can go forward. And then we were also just given the updated 6-year capital improvement plan, of which this fits into the context. Sorry, I'm just distracted reading the sign in the audience. But
Better be.
It says cop cameras now.
South Ave and Rockland, all of South Ave, cops, cameras. Yes, totally, Rich. It's happening. It's totally in the pipeline. It's going to happen.
Haven't described it.
6-year plan with this.
So
this is a part of. Where you left off.
I think a part of it may be more budget wonky, but just understanding, for instance, when I go through the 2-year packets, because we have the tradition of issuing new debt based on the amount of debt retired, which I would assume feeds into the annual debt amounts. So in the current plan, when you look at the city as a whole, we are going to be issuing $248 million over the next 6 years. Is in the plan. Whereas a year ago, the plan had $403 million over the period, which is mainly because I think JSCB had a really large allotment in the last year's budget, and that came out. So for here, we're just going to be looking at D.P.W, which is a small segment of this plan, but to making sure that from my perspective, it's agnostic to what you view your needs are. I don't know what your needs are. You certainly know your needs better than me, but I would like it to fit and align with what's in the capital plan, and so that it fits and aligns with what's in the out years of the capital plan. So that's all I really want, is whatever you say is your need today, I just want to make sure it's reflected, and hopefully it would show that our capital plan is sort of working, so that last year, the first year out, would be similar to what you're asking for now. And then if it wasn't similar, then that's also fine, because you've changed your needs. But then how do we make sure it's not constantly changing as we move forward, so that the out years are sort of pinned appropriately? That's my wonkiness. But we also have the couple specific basically the biggest part of your plan for this year that you're getting now. So the justification for that. But that's the way I'm thinking of it. So, Councilor Green, you can.
All right, so why don't you guys start with the analysis of the fleet now, how this ties into it, and I guess the future plans going forward.
So you're just talking about just the fleet? That's all.
Yeah, I guess just describe a little. You started to get into it obviously earlier this week,
Yeah.
but get into a little more detail about like why this is necessary and why we need it.
Well, like I explained to you at council, our fleet consists of 24 plows now. On a daily basis, we're down plows left and right. Right now, for this snowstorm that just passed, we had 17 out. A couple went down. We were down to 14. Our fleet's old. We have, that I told you at council, we have about 11 plows that are 13 years and older. And I think it's just time for an overhaul of our fleet. I mean, when we first got in the office, when I first got in the office, I really didn't have my feet under me to understand exactly what we need. But after evaluating exactly what we needed in our way of our mechanics that Councilor Hogan has pointed out at the council meeting, that I think we need an overhaul of our fleet, especially talking about plow. We get some of the most snow in Syracuse, and to deal with that, we got to have the right equipment. So I think that I think I made my case clear.
So in a scenario where we're able to approve these, what does the need look like over the next few years? If you get 10 now, I mean, do you need 5 next year? How does that work?
Well, that's what I think this year. I think that the 10 will put us in a good spot, a good place. We figure 34 in our fleet would be great. Trying to get out, we want to be able to get 25 plows out in the road, 25. And with us having that many plows, we also want to have spares for things to go down. Our mechanics is a problem, obviously. We only have a few mechanics in-house. So we're working with some vendors to try to get some services there. We're trying to work with other entities like the county, the state, to try to see if we can couple that into coming up with a bigger maintenance plan. But I just think that getting these 10 plows will get us in a good place where we wouldn't be able to, we wouldn't sink as fast as we would if we didn't have them.
So, I mean, at peak operations, 25 on the road is that's like the best case. That's what we want.
That's
right?
what I want, yes.
And then, just so people can understand better, in a scenario where we're lower than that, let's say we have, 20, how does that impact our ability? I mean, in terms of like time, right? Like if you were to, after a snowstorm and you had 20 instead of 25, does that mean it's going to take 2 hours more? I mean, how does that impact, or what's the incremental impact on each
A lot
truck?
of things play into that, but we would like to get into a point where we can say safely that in a 14-hour span that we'll be able to get visit every street in the city. But obviously weather plays into that, how fast the snow is coming. You've seen this snowstorm has just passed, that it hit us so quick that we couldn't get out there in enough time. But getting to a point where we have 25, we can continue to get into the neighborhoods faster. Wouldn't say it'd be up and clear in 8 hours every side street, or dead end. But I think we can get there faster if we had a bigger, more in our fleet.
And are there some that we would immediately retire, some of the older ones, or would we keep it to have extra? And then, I mean, do we ever go above 25, or do we not have the staff to drive those? How does that work?
Well, right now, we just don't have enough plows for our staff to get in. If we get to that point at 25, I think we'll be at a good place where we have enough staff and enough trucks to get the job done. Going over that would just help us be able to maintain the fleet when 7 or 8 are down. We still be able to get out 25 plows. And the fleet manager that's coming on in the next couple of weeks will help us with that and be able to gauge that. But right now, I think the need is to get the plows in, and then he can figure out a way to sustain that ability to keep these plows running.
What do you do with the additional staff now that you have? So you said you have not enough trucks.
We normally have those guys do labor work. So when the downtown is covered with snow and we can't get it with a small piece or some type of trackless, we usually have those guys go out and shovel.
Okay.
Some don't like it, but that's the way of the world, right?
So, if I can ask, So we're talking about the 10 plows, right?
Yes.
So 5 of them we're not paying for.
No, we can reimburse.
Okay, so we're only right now asking us to pay for 5 plows.
Yes.
Okay.
If my understanding, Lori, is that you want to come up to the microphone, please.
We would still have to bond for all 10, but CHIPS would reimburse us when the trucks came in and I have the invoices paid. I could send in the paperwork and they would pay us back for the
Okay,
5 plows.
So in reality, you're only asking us to, we're gonna bond, but we get reimbursed. The reality, the city's only paying for 5 trucks.
Yes.
5 trucks.
Okay. And I heard the question that Councilor Allen asked you, and I know it's been a concern, so I'm gonna ask this again. You said you would have enough staff to man the trucks, but I'm just gonna throw this out here because I've been around the block for a while.
Yeah.
I know that when we have storms or if it happens through a holiday, we get a lot of call-outs. So are we gonna really have enough staff to man these plows?
I mean, that's a, I think that's a situation that we have to deal with when it comes. I mean, we don't know of any given day that someone's going to call out, but my goal is to pull from different departments. When it's a snowstorm, that's what we normally do. We shut sewers down because it's nothing to do with anything flooding or anything, but so we'll take those staff and bring them over to snow and ice and fill the trucks, or we'll take from info services, or sometimes we'll take from Santa. If they need to stay over, they can help us out. So we're trying to do that.
And then you can mandate, correct?
And
If it's a state of emergency.
yes, in a situation where we see that staff is going to be limited, we can definitely mandate.
This is totally off topic, but since you're there, is there a mandate now for Santa to come in on Saturday for all employees?
Glad you asked that. The short answer is no, but we are addressing that in the next negotiations to try to figure that out. Most of our Santa is new, right? And when you're new, you have a probationary period. So we're trying to address that to say, those guys need to come in on Saturdays. But the short answer is no. We don't have unless there's a
Probationary period's a year?
yes.
I just know I know I've heard from folks who thought they had a Monday to Friday job and have like kids and stuff on Saturday, and then to get jerked around is hard. But
I know I got guys that, they got, I understand. I understand.
Work 90 days straight every
I
day.
feel bad for those guys, and in certain situations, I'll be lenient, but we have a job to do, and you're going to call me anyway to say that block didn't get picked up, so I need those people.
Can we go back to the topic of the mechanics needed?
Yeah.
So, do you guys have a number of how many you need now?
How many do I want or need?
How many do you need first?
Well, I think we need 16.
You need 16 additional, or you're saying, so how many you have
Total.
now?
We have 11.
Okay.
Yep. Heavy duty mechanics.
Is that, I'm assuming we had 10 new trucks and they should be in pretty good shape. Does that impact that number?
No, because we still got an entire fleet of D.P.W. trucks that still need to be fixed and are outdated as well. Sandite trucks are 1999s, 2001s that we're still putting Band-Aids on, so that's another topic.
Along the line of what Councilor Rudd said in the beginning, I commiserate with you. You inherited a mess, basically. You have 9 vehicles that are dating from 1998 to 2004. And in my experience with the city, I can guarantee that more money's been put into those vehicles.
I agree.
Probably twice as much. You probably could buy two vehicles for whatever. And that's because of the culture that any kind of city employees had to deal with. It's a lot easier to put money into a vehicle governmentally wise than it is to go out and buy a new vehicle. That's just the way it is.
I agree.
So I think maybe if the administration would pledge to us as far as maybe changing the culture where we need new vehicles, we buy new vehicles. I think it'd be a lot easier for us to deal with the things we have to deal with. Because this is a tough situation with us, obviously with the budget and everything else, and how to bond and making sure our bond rating remains strong and all that. But if we could have some sort of agreement where we start replacing these vehicles when they're needed, I think things will go a lot better.
I think the fleet manager coming in will help us out with that. I think that fleet manager is going to be in everything, whether it's fire trucks or D.P.W. trucks or police cars. I think that.
So he's going to handle everybody.
He's going to be not
Chief
just
managers.
D.P.W. He's going to be
Excellent.
a fleet manager.
Now, do you borrow mechanics from the fire department at all?
We try. They're in the same boat as us.
Right. Now, is it the mechanic issue? That's not only a residency issue, you believe, right? And it's also, is it a pay issue too?
I think it's more of a residency issue than the pay. I think our benefits outweigh the pay in most states. Most instances. But I think the guys that work on these trucks are living, the outer skirts that don't want to move their families into the city. So it's tough for us to get those guys to buy in. But
okay,
it is what it is. We're dealing with it, and we're trying to get partnerships with other entities and trying to go that route, and then trying to get these new trucks with service agreements. So we're trying to make sure that we're prepared for that as well. So,
do we have what was the cost of maintenance last year? Just maintenance. Do we have a round figure of that? You're going to.
We can get that figure out. We have it offhand, but
just specifically these trucks.
Yeah, we can get that figure for you.
Okay.
And I'm going to piggyback before we move to another subject. So I know you can't give me a straight timeline, but when the fleet manager comes on, do we have a timeline of when we'll get a comprehensive list? Will it be a year, 6 months? Because that's what we need.
I'm sorry, but we can definitely set up a meeting with all of us, with the fleet manager, so he can definitely entail what he's going to, his task is going to be. Corey Driscoll can definitely tell you that.
Because we need a comprehensive list overall so that we can follow this list and know what's falling off, what we need to buy, and that gives us a little time to be able to look at it before you come back again saying we need 10 trucks.
No, exactly. I think that it's going to be coming in the future. I think she's definitely going to set up some time so she can get a plan together with him, and he's got to get his feet under him as well. So I think that'll come in the near future.
And Mr. Kaliva, I'm going to throw this in your ring. I've been asking for 7 years that we think about doing a overall maintenance facility for everybody. Because the question that Councilor Hogan just asked was, do the police or do the fire help? They do. So if we're crossing over anyway, wouldn't it help that we're all in one facility?
Thanks, President Hudson. I think it could theoretically. I think we're really looking for the fleet manager to help us make that determination. Right now, the contention has always been that the fleet varies so much from agency to agency that we wouldn't get those kinds of incentives for bringing it all together. But I think we're going to hear a different perspective from the fleet manager.
My point of view being basically having to look at our budget city-wise. I'm looking, I pay bills too, so if you can run your own house, you basically, we pay for a lot of different sites. We have one on Erie Boulevard, we have one on Hiawatha, we have sites all over the city. We're paying lights and gas. We're paying all of these different costs associated with all the buildings we have scattered. We have empty property in the city of Syracuse. We bond for everything else. I think in the long run, bonding for a facility would save us a lot of money, and it would save us having to pay for 12 different sites all over the county. So I'm just...
Intuitively, it makes sense, and to your earlier conversation about the interchangeability of mechanics and being able to move the mechanics from one agency to another for the hotspots, all makes a tremendous amount of intuitive sense, and I think that's one of the main charges that Corey will have for the
just want to
fleet
keep it
manager.
on your radar.
Yep,
It's
absolutely.
7 years worth of keeping it on your radar.
Got it.
And Frank, obviously, I mean, this has been going on for years, what I mentioned, as far as money being poured into equipment and poured into equipment. But that's, if somebody could address that culture, and just so we get like 2 vehicles a year, I mean, work with the people, David DeValchio and his crew and all that, as far as the bonding goes for that.
And I know that Commissioner has been working on that for D.P.W., and you'll hear this afternoon that Fire has absolutely been working to move to that so that they are on a regular basis replacing their equipment and aging out their equipment as opposed to trying to do it all at once. They're in a very similar situation where the fleet hasn't been looked after for so many years that they got to play catch up, but once they do, they think they're within a couple of years of being on a regular schedule, and they'll lay that out for you this afternoon. But it's a point exceedingly well taken.
And Commissioner Robinson will tell us if that doesn't happen, right, Commissioner? Of course. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Councilor Hogan made a comment about the question for the amount of maintenance that went into the vehicles. And I know that when we walked around your grounds, so to speak, and all the garages more than a year ago, I know there's some limitations to your own tracking of, like, I think the way maintenance gets input, like, aren't there, like, he asked the question, you're like, oh, we'll give it to you. But I think what you have currently is limited in real ways.
Talking mechanics or what we have, or?
I'm talking about the amount of maintenance that went into each vehicle over the last life of the vehicle. So like, oh, year one, we spent however many hours or dollars or parts or whatever. Like, I think there's some, like, tracking the hours we spend is hard, and like valuing that. Anyways, my point
You
is
want
not
this
to
to
say,
be like asset management of the vehicles, right?
yeah. My point here is really to say I care less about the data you give for this. Like, I'm not going to say yes, no based on that now, but I think that your system has room for improvement.
Yes.
And in the scope of work of the fleet manager, that should be one of their tasks at some point, is to say, like, what's the tracking system we need for these vehicles
Certainly.
in order to, like...
I think that's what he's getting paid to do. He's going to come in and do an overhaul of our assets.
Right.
I think he needs to get in and figure out how much money we're spending on these vehicles. Why are we spending this much money on this vehicle? Can we get parts from the fire department? Maybe they have a part that we don't need to order, that they might have it on the shelf. I mean, stuff like that we should be able to work together, and even the county as well. So,
And then Councilor Hogan also had the comment of, if we need the vehicles, we should buy the vehicles, something to that effect. And I would say, well, we should know we're going to need the vehicles, and that's the point of the capital plan. So, and I just think that's, I don't know the accuracy of this thing, and I think the first couple of years should be pretty accurate, and then I think once you're into year 3, there's so much uncertainty that it's hard to be accurate. But like year 2 and the upcoming year on deck should start to be pretty accurate in terms of what we're going to buy. So
we have a system right now in plan, our program, called Dossier. I know our Deputy Commissioner Fort Ock has been working with the fire department on that, and the fleet manager is going to be a big asset on Dossier. That's basically our asset and management of all of our assets, and that's going to keep track of what we maintain, maintenance, parts, equipment, all that stuff. That's it's called Dossier, and I don't know if you want to speak a little bit more about that, Ed, if you have anything to add. Okay.
Okay, so then just like on this capital plan thing, so the goals of the capital plan are to identify the capital needs, to set priorities among these competing needs, right, because we can't pay for everything we want all at once, plan specific initiatives to address these priorities. So what are the actual things we plan to buy based on the needs we've articulated that we actually want to buy, not just from our wish list. Estimate the cost of these initiatives, so how much are the assets going to be in the year that we want, and then to suggest likely sources, which would Councilor Hudson's often asking, like, are we being reimbursed, all of that. And so that's what this 6-year plan, and then just in the context of what's happening here. So this is a big purchase that's going to be in not really the current year, but the next year beginning July 1. So we're basically like issuing the bonds for next year's budget because the purchase will be later, but we're ordering it, so we need to issue the bonds. So this purchase is $2.15 million of your $10 million capital plan for the year, right? So it's like
10-9, I believe, right?
10, sure. I don't on the right page, so.
10.9.
10.9, right. And so of the 10.9 million, this is one that's the 2.1, but then you've got a total of 12 projects in that. So that's like the context of the capital plan is for D.P.W. We basically got a 6-year plan. In the first year, we've got 12 projects. In the second year, it's like 10 projects in a similar amount of money, 10 million, and then another 10 projects the next year. So it's basically like this is us just planning 10 big capital purchases for D.P.W. based on the needs of what is happening. So I just want to make sure that those, I guess this is just saying, and it's probably in the budget office, but I think there's for financial exercise, I think we should be doing basically like reconciliations from, so like I have 2 plans that I brought with me, the one that we got 2 weeks ago for this coming year, and the one I got a year ago. And I just think we should look at, for instance, how much did we think we were going to spend in that first year last year, and how much have we actually spent, and then what fell out. And that would be fine, just say here's what fell out. And then last year at this time, in the second year, we thought we were going to spend this much and they were going to be these projects. And then now, a year later, the first year out, it has maybe the same exact projects, right, in the same dollar amount, or maybe it's changed. I would say it's probably changed some, but just describing like the differences that popped up. And I think that reconciliation would probably help us more proactively make better numbers in the future. So it's not about judging the accuracy of it. It's about, what is it that changed, so that we can adjust our future numbers based on it. Because, yeah, that's like my goal. And I don't think that's going to happen in a public meeting, but maybe it happens like with whoever is closest to it. But it's not a huge reconciliation, right? It's 12 items over 6 years and just showing what changes and just providing the explanation of the change. Does that make sense to people?
Yeah, it makes sense. I think we can get that done.
So just backing up a little bit, after we make this purchase, obviously this particular piece of equipment will be a huge part of our fleet, just percentage-wise.
Yes.
So do we like it? Do we like this product? Is it reliable? Do we like the service that the company provides?
Yes, we did all our due diligence and research, and we're getting product that we can use for not just now, but for 10 years and 15 years to come. I mean, if we maintain it like the New York State Thruway or the county does, I think we'll be able to use this equipment, and that's my goal. Is like this equipment should be here long after I am a commissioner. Should be the next commissioner should be able to say, I can use this equipment. So I want to get to that point where it's not just for me; it's for the long haul for the city.
And how long's the warranty on it?
I'm not sure about that. The warranty. What's the service?
5 year.
5 year.
5 what?
5 years.
Okay.
But the stress of a truck on city streets is a lot worse than it is on driving up and down the Thruway.
It is, and that's why when I mentioned that it was a 2006, 2004 that we were leasing from the Thruway, and people laughed. They've maintained it. They're going straight down the Thruway, no curves, no turns, no nothing.
Potholes.
No potholes, no stoplights, no cars. Not to bash our neighbors over there in the Thruway, but the city's tough to manage.
They're always working on the Thruway though, so it should be pretty okay.
So just kind of more specific, like the reconciliation concept. So when I look at the years, a year ago in the current year, we had planned for $4 million for a street recon.
Yeah.
And then a year forward in the current year, we allocate 3.25 million. So is that, I would assume this is like a change where, as I read the pecking order, identify capital needs so we know street recon is a need, and then set priorities among these competing needs. So something bumped up a little bit above the road recon so that we took $750,000 or something from that pot of money to, I don't know, buy a different truck or something. But that's what I anticipate the reconciliation explaining. Just so it's not saying like, oh my God, why are you rating? It's not a judgment of decreasing the street recon. It's just understanding that we only have $10.9 million of bonding for the year in D.P.W. And you have all these needs. And that's why I think it's important to also state the needs of what you think. I don't think our capital plan identifies the capital need of like if resources weren't truly constrained very well. And I think it's important as a city that we do articulate what we think the actual baseline should be, so that, I mean, 10 years ago or 50, however many years at this point, like era and like stimulus money, if there is an economic downturn, it's very possible that like a central bank or the federal government could buy municipal bonds to stimulate the economy. So I feel like we should always have these projects on deck of like, hey, we've had this deficit need of what we would spend. So I do think somehow in this plan we should articulate somewhere that 4 million should still be there, or maybe we think it's 5 million a year that we should be doing street recon. And the point isn't that like we're never going to get it. I mean, maybe we won't, maybe we will, but at least we've articulated that that's the need. And then we say, but we only have this much access to capital within the department for the year. So here is our pecking order of needs. And to the extent it changes, that's fine, but just showing it. And then we still have the sense of, oh, we are, because like we're kind of throwing the previous administrations under the bus, saying, maybe under the plow, saying like they didn't buy new plows for a while. But it's possible. No, I know.
Words in my mouth.
Well,
I'll say that.
Hogan did. But there could have been a prioritization that was happening under them that they were reacting to that made sense, and they could get away with it for a while. So this is just why I think it's important that we just explain. We know like what's the new deficit we're going to be accruing based on what we're not buying now, and it's not like, it's just saying that way we have a sense of what hole we're getting ourselves into next.
I understand. I just think that, like I said, the previous years, previous year when I was here, the plan was basically status quo. I get in and I'm looking at stuff and trying to get my feet under me, just trying to, look, it's a year I've been in office, and this is a big job, man, to get everything under you and know everything. So I had to take a couple steps back and learn the process. And once I learned it, I wanted to make change. And this is one of the changes I wanted to make. And with leadership help, Corey Driscoll, the mayor, and Frank, I think we're doing that. So
I have one more question. It may not be able to answer. So we salvaged, how many vehicles have we put out? Have we salvaged? Or sent to auction or whatever we do with them?
Since I've been there, we started off with 33, so now we're 24, math 9.
Okay, do we get any type of monetary for these vehicles?
Yes, we send stuff out to auction all the time, but that's after we pick and pull everything that we need off of it before we...
So when you give us the amount of repair bill, can you also add that amount, salvage amount of what we got in return for those vehicles?
Yep.
I'm done.
Any other questions? Okay. All right. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, folks.
Thank you.